Pronunciation Pro.
Pronunciation Pro.
Hello and welcome to the Pronunciation Pro podcast. My name is Annie Rudin and I am the host of this podcast and the creator of the Pronunciation Pro online training program. Today I am recording from Utah. My family and I are in a little bit of a transition right now. I talked about this a couple episodes back, but we moved from Arizona to Utah in the United States. And so a little bit of a shift for our family. So we're in a little bit of this transitional phase. And so we're just I'm recording from wherever I am and keeping things rolling. So hopefully my kids will all be very quiet in the background. They are in the basement of the house that I'm staying in. And hopefully they'll be nice and quiet. But if not, then we will just roll with it. All right. So thank you for joining me today. Today, my thoughts are going towards the power of awareness. And I wanted to really talk about this concept today because I think it's really, really valuable in being able to help us improve and help you be able to speak clear American English and to feel way more confident in your spoken English. The power of awareness, it really is the first step to speaking clear and confident American English. So I want to do a little exercise with you right now, and I want you to just take a second and be still or get awareness of where you are right now. So your brain can only handle and pay attention to so much stimulus at a time. And so we go about our lives and we think that we are seeing and observing and sensing everything in our environment, and we very much are not. So what I want you to do is I just want you to sit there, wherever you are, whatever you're doing. I want you to start getting awareness of your surroundings. Okay? I want you to take a look visually. Kind of look around. Where are you sitting? What's around you? What's on the counters? What's in your car? What's out the window? Kind of observe for a little bit. Are there hard surfaces? Are there soft surfaces? Is there something that's moving in the room that you're in? In the room that I'm in, there's couches, there's a fan that's moving. I can see kind of the light coming in through the windows. Outside, there's trees. It's a pretty clear day. I just noticed a bug kind of flying through and hitting the window. So we're going to look visually at kind of our setting and see what's happening here. Kind of get awareness of the items around you, the way that they're placed, the colors that they are, what colors stand out to you in the environment that you are right now, and just kind of visually get some awareness. Okay. Now I want you to get awareness of the smell. Okay. So take a little breath in. Okay. Is it warm air? Is it cold air? Is it kind of stale? Is it fresh? Is there a certain smell to it? Is there food cooking in the environment you're in? Is there an air freshener? Is it a little bit musty or kind of stinky? Is it, what is the smells? Let's get awareness of the smells that you are experiencing right now. Okay, next, let's think about sounds. So obviously you're listening to me and you are aware of my voice. Okay, is it, what pitch levels am I using? Am I going down? Am I going up? Is there kind of an up intonation? Is there down? Where am I stressing? Which words am I stressing? And you can get even more conscious of what syllables am I stressing. And we'll come back to that a little bit in a minute. But then also listen for the surroundings around you. As I was just quiet there for a second, I noticed a clock ticking that I had not been aware of before. There's a little bit of a low buzzing sound. What is it that you are hearing? And maybe you just didn't notice those sounds before, but now they're kind of coming to your attention. Okay, now let's go touch. So we're going through our 5 senses. Touch, okay? Touch something around you. What are you feeling right now? Okay, what's the feeling? You can kind of touch your body, your arms. You can touch your face. You can touch something around you. What does it feel like? Do you have smooth surfaces? Is there something rough? Really get awareness of the feelings, the touch feelings of your surroundings. So let's see, we went through sight, we went through hearing, touch, smell, taste is the other one. Okay, are you eating something right now? You may be having a meal while you're listening to me, or eating a snack or drinking something. Okay, get awareness of that, the tastes. Is it salty? Is it sweet? You could even think I'm not, eating anything right now, but I do have a little bit of a stuffy nose. So I'm having to kind of manage that. And, my mouth is a little bit dry. I'm kind of thinking, well, I should have gotten some water, to have next to me while I'm recording this. Okay, so those are going through our senses. And when you stop and you pause and you start paying attention, what you're doing is you're activating parts of your brain that had to kind of shut down previously to attend to the highest priority thing that was happening in your world and what you're doing. Okay, especially if you're like driving right now. There's a lot of things that are happening and your brain's trying to prioritize all of those. And so it's going to block out other things. So with this concept of awareness, I want to talk about how you can notice more in your communication skills and your speaking skills in English, and how bringing more awareness to that will help you improve your spoken English and your specifically your pronunciation and your accent, but also your mindset and the importance of bringing attention to your mindset. Okay. Awareness is the first step to any kind of change. You cannot change what you're not aware of. So an example of this is my son. We have this ongoing joke that, if he can't find something, I say, okay, look with your mom eyes. Okay, so he's looking for something in his room and I said, okay, look for it with your mom eyes. And, basically what that means is you scanned through things, you didn't see what you needed, and so you went to go solve the problem by going to mom. And so I say, look with your mom eyes, which means I'm not going to help you right now. You need to go solve this and you need to pay attention more. Okay. So what I'm coming to you with today is let's look at your spoken English with your mom eyes, with your trainer eyes, with your Annie eyes, or Annie ears. I really should say. Let's look at your pronunciation and listen to yourself with your Annie ears. Now, it may take some training and for me to bring attention to something for you to really recognize it. Okay, so that's the value of going through a program like Pronunciation Pro, is that you get the rules of American English, you get us breaking down the sounds of American English and doing listening skills to be able to hear the difference. And then also you get feedback. Okay, so I can listen to you, or our other trainers can listen to you and give you an understanding of what we're hearing versus what you are hearing. But, of course, that awareness has to happen. So awareness helps shift from autopilot. I think when you're in autopilot, you're just going with the easiest path and what has always been, to intentional change. Okay, I want something to change, therefore I have to get intentional about it. I have to get awareness of it. I have to get off of this autopilot automatic response, or automatic pathway that I'm on, and I have to divert it to a very intentional path. And this applies to both pronunciation, kind of the sounds we're using, the rhythm, the stress patterns, and our mindset. So with the mindset, it comes to getting awareness of our thoughts, our fears, the way you're talking to yourself, the way you are thinking about others, okay, the way you're thinking about yourself. That kind of awareness is what we're talking about. So let's break this down into two different categories, two main categories. So we're going to talk about pronunciation awareness and mindset awareness. All right, so let's first talk about pronunciation awareness. So we do have to get very aware that there are sounds in American English that maybe you don't hear exactly, or you don't realize that you are saying it different because it sounds so close to another sound in your language. And so a good example of that is always the TH sound, because the TH sound is very unique to English. There are very few languages that have the TH sound. So oftentimes, and I was doing some sound awareness with a student here this week, and she was using a Z or an S for the TH sound almost all the time in conversation. So this instead of this, this. So we were going through listening exercises where I basically had kind of the target word, this, and the word that she was saying, this. And I said, okay, which of these two words am I saying? And I would say one, and then she'd have to tell me what, first word or second word. And we do this a lot through my program, as we have a listening exercise for each new sound that we work on. And it was interesting because the first time she got like 4 or 5 errors. She wasn't able to hear the difference. And so then I would contrast it. I would say this, 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 this. So she could hear the two sounds next to each other. The, the, z. And once she could hear it, then she was able to recognize it a lot better. But it did take quite a bit of repetition for her to get her ear to hear that. So we have to, when it comes to pronunciation, awareness is number one, and you have to be aware of what you're saying versus a native speaker. And we have to break that down to specific sounds. So vowel sounds are really important. Like, did I say heat or hit? Heat, hit, heat, hit. You have to hear the difference between those two before you're going to be able to pronounce it. Next, we have to get awareness of what your mouth is doing. Okay, where are your tongue and teeth and shape of your mouth and lips while you're doing this? One very, very common mistake is the V and W. Then instead of when, or wary instead of very. So the awareness of that of W is rounded, when. V has your teeth on your bottom lip. Very, Very. So we have to isolate those sounds, get really conscious about where our mouth placement is, and then get a lot of repetition getting your mouth in that position. Super, super important. So sound awareness, being able to hear it, and mouth placement awareness. Another awareness that you have to have is, can you hear a stress change? Can you hear the pitch change? If I go high or if I go low? Am I going high or low? Okay. Intonation and rhythm. Okay. Intonation, rhythm. Okay. We have to get awareness of where my voice is going up and where my voice is coming down. And so getting a lot of practice and repetition, both hearing and being able to identify which syllable is being stressed or which word in each sentence is being stressed, so that you can hear that difference. I was working with someone this morning and very flat intonation. So there was not a lot of variation. She wasn't her voice wasn't going up and down. It was just very, very flat. She didn't have any awareness that that's what she was doing. But part of her programming is going to be helping her get to higher and lower kind of notes and pitches as she's speaking. Okay, that's going to need to be trained in her because she doesn't have that range yet. So think of it on a piano. She's only playing the first or the middle 5 notes instead of covering the whole span of the piano. I don't know how many notes there are, but there's more than 20 or more. I don't remember, but there's a lot of notes on a piano. And we want to use a wider range. So once you get awareness of kind of being able to hear the difference, be able to recognize the mouth placement, be able to hear the intonation differences in American English versus your native language, a whole world is going to open up to you. Okay, that listening, your listening ears, you're going to hear and things that you never heard before. So example of this is when when you're learning a new skill, there are things that you're like, I never even thought about that, but now that I know it, I recognize it more and more. So like right now, I don't know anything about birds. Okay. There's a bird outside my window right now. And so I'm looking at this, and to a bird watcher, they would be able to identify, okay, there's the coloring, there's the shape of the beak, there's the shape of its wings, there's all the shape of the feathers, all these things. We could look at the same bird and they're going to see things that I'm not going to see because I'm not trained in the specifics of different kinds of birds. But a very skilled bird watcher who has studied it and kind of knows the differences is going to look at that bird and be like, oh, okay, this is what that bird is. And here's the, variations of it. And that's the skill that we're going to develop and you're going to develop and you're working on with your English. Okay. You're going to dive in and you're going to understand the rules. You're going to understand why native speakers do it the way they do, why they reduce certain sounds or words, and kind of like what is making them sound really clear versus the other person that doesn't. So your awareness is going to increase, and the more awareness you have, then you can actually do something about it and you can shift and change, and it's more empowering because it's not this when you just don't have the knowledge, you don't have the skill set, you do feel very insecure in anything. So if like a bird kind of landed in here and I was supposed to talk about that bird and, give details about that bird, I would not feel very confident in it. But if I did a bird watching class and I learned some skills and I've studied it and I've practiced it and I've done that, I'm going to be able to speak more confidently about birds. Why I'm using the example of birds, I don't know. It's just something that came into my view. So that's what we're rolling with. Okay. So I hope you understand how important awareness is, and how do we get that awareness, feedback, learning something, really diving into the program and understanding the rules, being able to, I say, like, listen back to your own voice, but until you know what to listen for, that might not be as effective. If you have a good awareness, then you can kind of start correcting some things, but sometimes you just don't hear it. You can't change what you don't hear. Okay. So that is something that I want you to be really proactive about is, okay, am I going to go in and learn the rules? Am I going to get some feedback that is trained, right? Your friends, your native speaking friends won't be able to tell you specifically why or what you're doing wrong sometimes, because their ear hasn't been trained to it either. They just speak the way they speak, but they don't know why they're saying it that way. All right. Okay, let's move on to kind of mindset awareness. So, just as we need to get more aware of our speaking skills, we need to get more awareness of our mindset. So, this includes kind of negative thoughts, emotional reactions, identifying what you're saying to yourself, before, during, or after a conversation. These are kind of the skills that I need. And I was coaching someone this morning, and I asked her, why is it, do you feel like that you're feeling nervous in these meetings with clients? And I gave kind of some typical answers like fear of judgment, fear of making mistakes, comparison, some of those. And she was like, I don't know. I guess I haven't thought about it. That doesn't seem quite right. And it took a little while for her to kind of tap into even just asking herself why. And what stood out to me is, like, I don't think that she's ever really thought about that, kind of the why behind it. And it's meta awareness is the term for it. Metacognition is thinking about your thoughts. And some people just haven't had that practice, and it is a skill to practice. It's just thinking about our thoughts, or maybe you just haven't thought about this specifically. So I want you to really ask yourself, why do I feel insecure in these speaking situations? What is it that is happening in this situation that is causing me to think thoughts that are not very confident? What thoughts am I having during it? So the more we dug in this morning with the coaching, the more she was like, I just really want to do a good job. And I have a fear of not being able to accomplish the goal. I was like, okay, that's some good awareness. That's a thought. But the homework that I gave her is, I want you to start thinking about it. I want you to start training your brain to get awareness during these situations of why. Why do I feel this way? Why am I reacting this way? What is the cause of this? And thoughts in our brain are usually the cause. Sometimes we think it's the external. It's because, like my kids, they're always like, so and so, was mean to me, so I had to react in this specific situation, and I had to hit him or whatever it was. He said something mean, so I had to hit him. If he hadn't said something mean, I wouldn't have had to hit him. And it's like, no, if he said something mean, you can choose to believe it. You can choose to let it affect you. You can choose to, just be neutral and just say, okay, those are his thoughts. That's what he thinks. Am I that way? I don't think so. But he can have his own opinions about things. Okay, so there's a lot of choice that happens, even though sometimes we think we don't have a choice. So the more we can recognize we do have a choice in the way we react to things, the more power we'll have. Okay, so let's kind of talk about ways to build more awareness. Like I said, with pronunciation, learning the rules, getting that feedback is really important to getting that awareness. What about mindset? Even just asking your brain why. Why do I feel this way? What am I thinking? What, really asking your own brain to answer the questions. You'll be surprised at how your brain responds. Naming the emotion that you're feeling. So say you get activated and your body is responding to something. Being able to identify the emotion and being able to pause enough to say, I'm feeling sad, or I'm feeling angry because I'm sad, or I'm feeling nervous, or I'm feeling afraid. Naming the emotion and then saying, why am I feeling this? And letting your brain kind of solve for that is really important. So that pausing or taking some time to think through things is incredibly important. I think we stay busy with all the stimulus that's around us, but turning things off and just letting our brain think and ask those questions is really, really powerful. All right, I'm going to kind of end with a few quotes that I like that just about, personal growth and the importance of awareness. So Eckhart Tolle, am I saying that right? I don't know. I'd have to look up the pronunciation. He says, awareness is the greatest agent for change. Awareness is the greatest agent for change. And Anthony DeMello says, what you are aware of, you can control. What you are not aware of controls you. I love that quote. What you are aware of, you can control. What you are not aware of controls you. And then another one, Carl Jung, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. With the conversation this morning, one comment she made was just saying that, I think the reason is very unconscious. Okay. And what that told me, what that communicated to me, is that she just hasn't brought that to her consciousness. She just said it's unconscious. Like the reason is unconscious. And it's like, okay. Unconscious meaning like without awareness, basically. And when we make things more conscious, more is basically us bringing more awareness. Okay. The first step to speaking clear and confident American English is awareness. It is hearing clearly. It's hearing yourself clearly and getting awareness of your own mind and really exploring it. And sometimes it can be kind of scary to go there. We want to run away from that. We want to run away from the cause and understanding our own mind, because honestly, sometimes we dig up, most of the time we dig up a lot of insecurities, a lot of harms, a lot of things that we want to just kind of cover up. But I encourage you to do the hard thing and to get awareness without judgment. There's no judgment in awareness. It's just like, oh, that's what's happening in my brain. Oh, okay. Now that I'm aware of it, I can do something about it. But please don't layer on shame. Shame is saying there's something wrong with me instead of just saying this is just an unlearned skill and I need to practice a new way of thinking. All right? Or a new way of doing it. Okay, thank you so much for being here. I hope you take away have a good takeaway. And I want you to sit for a minute after listening to this and just say, what's my key takeaway? What's the one thing that I'm going to take away from this podcast episode so that I can make some changes? And I encourage you to say, I am going to get more awareness. I'm going to get more awareness of the way that I sound. And I'm going to get more awareness of the thoughts that I'm thinking. the why. Why am I feeling this way? Okay. And then why am I sounding this way? When you can start getting that awareness, then there's a path that you can move forward. All right. Thank you so much for being here with me today. I encourage you all to come join us at Pronunciation Pro. We have our own app on the App Store, so you can go and look up either on Android or iPhone, just look up Pronunciation Pro, and you can kind of go there and get started. Or you can go to the website pronunciationpro.com and get enrolled there. All right. I hope to see you soon. Bye.
Pronunciation Pro.
Pronunciation Pro.